Hello and a very warm welcome to you. This is the Courthouse, your #1 legal talk show. Yes, we get to learn the law in plain, simple and entertaining language. In this class, which I love to call our Law Class 101, we've been talking about what constitutes a valid marriage, and we talked about the fact that the marriage under the Marriage Act is one which is legally recognized under the law. That is, the marriage is procured in a licensed place, in a registered place by a licensed practitioner who is authorized to carry out a marriage or to declare a marriage valid. So this brings to mind the fact that we see marriages in churches. We'll be finding out more on that, but we'll go on a quick break. We'll be right back.
There are those of us who live in the unlimited power of the Spirit. Those of us who love to experience the Spirit without measure and manifest His wisdom and power in our world every day. We know that though we walk the face of this earth, we are not of this world, and our citizenship is in heaven. We love to experience His Word in new dimensions, walking in a continuous stream of the miraculous and staying connected to the move of His Spirit no matter where we go. To us, the glory of this later house far exceeds that of the former.
That's the power of the Holy Ghost.
We know that the ministry of the Holy Spirit on earth today is greater than what we saw with the apostles and prophets of old. If you are one of us and you want to know this great personality called the Holy Spirit, experience the power of His Word beyond the written pages, and explore what He is doing in our day, we invite you to take a ride with us. The vehicle already exists. It's just a tap away. Watch the Love World Networks on the Live TV mobile app. Welcome to a whole new world of the supernatural.
You're welcome back. There's been a controversial issue surrounding the taxation of places of worship in terms of marriages. And the Ministry of Interior, under the leadership of Rauf Aregbesola, insisted that 30,000 will be paid by churches who want to continue conducting marriages in Nigeria. And a lot of people have been protesting, challenging this policy, saying the churches should not be taxed. And if you're taxing churches, it should be a lump sum cutting across all the churches, all the branches of a particular church, and not individual churches paying that particular sum. And this is an interesting matter that I'll be talking about this week, because it seems that we are going to be taxing marriages. And we're going to be joined by a legal practitioner, not just any other legal practitioner, but a senior advocate of Nigeria, Godwin OMOAKA, who is joining us via live call now. You're welcome to the Courthouse, sir. It's good to see you after such a long time, sir.
Thanks to the COVID lockdown.
Okay, you see, I said marriage and taxes. It seems what we are hearing is taxation of marriages. That's what people are hearing from all the policy decisions going about now. And we saw the Ministry of Interior insisting that 30,000 will be paid by churches if they want to continue conducting marriages. But first of all, give us a background to why churches would have to pay a certain sum to be licensed to conduct marriages.
Well, I think it's a matter of law. Now, if you look at the Constitution and the various laws at the various state levels, it empowers the Minister of the Interior, who is cited as the Director General then in the law, to license churches, right, who want to conduct marriages. And as part of the requirement for doing so, he would typically include a token fee to be paid as a license fee. And that has been the practice until this development, where the current minister is trying to significantly increase the fees payable in respect of the license. So that's the genesis. It's basically statutory. You look at the Constitution, I think the first schedule, the exclusive legislative list of the Constitution, the item 4 now, and of course the Marriage Act as well.
Okay, now what people are hearing is that normally they go to churches and they get married in churches, but because of this policy direction, they basically get into the hear that your marriage is not legal if you just go to the church to conduct that marriage, if that place is not registered. Also, they also believe that going to the church also cancels the need to go to a marriage registry. Can you just throw more light on these issues to clarify the status of a valid marriage in the eyes of the law?
Now, the law, like I said previously, empowers the Minister of the Interior to grant a license, so licensed churches. And that is why you see the Catholic Church, the Christ Embassies of this world, the Anglican churches, they are all licensed to conduct these marriages. Then, of course, you have the marriage registry itself that is licensed to conduct the marriage as well. Now, if you conduct a marriage not in accordance with anywhere outside the licensed venues, that is the church that has a license or the marriage registry, that is where it is said that the marriage is invalid because the proper venue, the marriage has not been conducted in the proper venue. And so that is the point. I know that this that helped me, this debate as to whether you can conduct a marriage in a registry and local government, and that has been raging for some time. But the point is that the minister has the power to license churches to contract these marriages. And once a church is licensed, then that ipso facto leads to the validity of the marriage itself. If the church is not licensed, then you wouldn't have been able to conduct a valid marriage. So that license is very critical. Okay, now
the issue, some people are arguing that he actually acted ultra vires his powers, but you are saying it's actually constitutionally, he has a constitutional backing to act the way he's acting. But what about the increase, the significant increase? Is this now a money-making venture for the Ministry of Interior? How do you react to that?
So first, let's be clear. Let me make a distinction here. We should be careful. I keep hearing marriage taxes. This is not a marriage tax. He's not taxing marriages as it were. What he has simply done is to revise the licensing fee, to increase it, and then to now add this rider, which is, I believe, is the subject of the debate, that, as against the previous situation where only the body, the church, one body, for instance, Christ Embassy or Redeem would pay, now various branches as well will have to pay, thereby making it a money-making venture for the federal government, who we know is broke and is looking for various ways to raise money. So I think that is the issue. I don't think we should be debating whether the minister has the power to license churches. Clearly, he has the power to license churches. Does he have the power to impose a fee? Yes, he has the power to impose the fees. The issue is that he's doing it in an arbitrary way. I think the proper way, what he should have done, is to say, look, for instance, the Catholic Church is one church. So Catholic Church, if you're going to pay 30,000 naira, it is the Catholic Church paying 30,000 naira per church, and not the various branches of the church individually paying 30,000 naira. I think that's where the problem is. I think that's where the problem is.
Exactly.
And if he does that, then that is wrong, because by law, those branches are not individual churches themselves. They are part of the parent church, yes, who has set them up as individual branches. So I think that is where the minister has got it wrong. And I think that is the issue that should be addressed, as opposed to seeing it as a marriage tax.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. But a lot of Christian associations have gone to court in the past year to challenge this policy, and just recently again the Minister of Interior came out to say this is a stand, is not going to change it. So now, talking about challenging the fact that different branches of the parent church have to pay that certain amount, that 30,000 naira, how do they now go to challenge it? How do they ensure that the Minister of Interior actually backtracks and allows only the parent church to pay that increased fee?
Yeah, I think there will be a legal basis for a challenge. And the legal basis that I see is essentially that you have one Catholic church in Nigeria. The branches don't constitute independent churches. You have one Redeemed church in Nigeria. The branches don't constitute independent churches. You have one Anglican church in Nigeria. The branches don't constitute independent churches, and so forth. So I think this is a strong basis, because you are in essence taxing branches that do not have a legal personality, in my view, right? And that would be, I would say, ultravize the powers of the minister. Tax the parent church. Sorry, I mean, using the word tax is wrong. I mean, impose a license fee, one-off fee that is payable by the parent church. And once the parent church pays, then the branches can now conduct marriages. And to be honest, that has been the position until now. So I don't know why this deviation. Let me not say, well, it's wrong to say we don't know why the deviation. The deviation is because the federal government is looking for ways to raise money. We all know that there's been a slump in the oil market. The federal government is now looking inwards. This is part of the diversification drive to raise funds. They are doing the stamp duty thing now. They are now looking at this as a way to rake more money, but I think it is wrong. While he has the right to impose the fee, the way and manner he has gone about it on this particular occasion is wrong. And I think the churches should go out there and challenge it. And I believe if they challenge it, it should be sustainable.
Okay, quite interesting. Also looking at the fact that apart from the increase in the fee in the licenses of the places of worship, we're also seeing that the Federal Marriage Registry has also increased its fee to about 21,000 as against the previous very menial sum that was paid before. Is that, you basically talk about money-making drive. It's good to diversify, but looking at this issue and juxtaposing it with the local governments where people are used to going to their various local governments registry to get married, how does this affect the local government registries, since the Minister of Interior is acting under the exclusive legislative list? How does this now affect the local government registries?
Now, ordinarily, it shouldn't affect the local government, and I will tell you why. What the law says is that the minister can license, right? There's also section 30 of what law I can recall, and then there's this decision that allow local governments to conduct marriages. So I don't think conducting marriages should be within the exclusive preserve of the federal government. To be honest, in a proper government where we have devolution of powers in the federal system, we shouldn't be having this conversation about the federal government licensing and conducting marriages. Marriages, dead beds are issues for local government, local councils. I think it's part of the issue that we have in the country where we don't have a proper federal system, and that's why we're having this debate. So for me, it shouldn't affect the local government. The local government should be able to conduct their marriages. And to be honest with you, if the marriage registry has increased their fare, I think it's a good thing for the local governments in a way. You just go there, pay the more cheaper fees, and then do your marriage. We shouldn't be having this conversation in Nigeria about fees. Marriages are not meant to be expensive. They are not meant to be difficult. They are meant to be things that are enjoyable, things that are affordable, things that people can do with ease. So trying to pose these restrictions, financial restrictions on churches, for me is in a way impeding the successful and free conduct of marriages, by these churches. Because to be honest, there are branches or parishes of churches that are not financially sustainable. They have to be sustained by their parent or so how do you expect them to pay 30,000 naira a month? So to answer your question, I don't think it would affect the local governments anyway. On the contrary, I think a lot of people should be flocking more into the local governments to have their marriages conducted because of the cost efficiency.
Oh, thank you so much for throwing light on that. And that was quite interesting as well. We've been listening to Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Godwin OMOAKA, talking about this issue of increased licensing fees for places of worship to be able to conduct marriages. As we told you in a previous episode, if you want your marriage to be valid, you must be married under the act, and a church that conducts marriage should be registered. And the Leonard Sikh has also made us to understand that the government has power to increase the licenses for places of worship, but it should not be arbitrary. It's also subject to litigation. Really, you have a right to contest it, because each church is under a parent's body, and you cannot start imposing separate fees on other branches of the same church. So that is the legal basis for us to be able to contest that particular law. But I want to go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be talking about some other issues with the Leonard Silk.
In 2019, the Nigerian government increased the cost of federal marriage certificates to 21,000 naira, and the license for places of worship was increased to 30,000 naira. The Nigerian government also began issuing new federal marriage certificates. Existing couples who did not have their certificates issued by the Ministry of Interior were advised to visit the ministry website to recertify their marriage certificates. The said licenses for places of worship are to be renewed every 2 years at 30,000 naira. Criteria for places of worship to qualify for approval to conduct marriages. The church must have been registered under the Land Perpetual Succession Act Cap 98 of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. 2. The church must have been built of concrete walls. 3. The church must have an ordained priest as the head. 4. The church must have provisions for safekeeping of valuable documents. 5. The church must have adequate ventilation to prevent stuffiness. 6. The church surrounding must be clean. 7. The church must have giant fire extinguishers in case of fire outbreak. The number depends on the size of the congregation. The list of such requirements goes on, and this is why Christian associations continue to protest, saying some of these conditions are stringent and unnecessary.
You're welcome back. This is still our Law Class 101, and I am Olomu-Agbodo, still with you and still with the Leonard Silk, who's been talking about the issue of licensing of places of worship in terms of conducting marriages. And he said it's actually not a marriage tax, and but we can contest it if it's going to be too arbitrary. You have a right to actually go to court and test the laws on certain things. That is why we're here, and that is why we are letting you know the legal implications of issues like this. And Godwin OMOAKA, thank you for still standing by with us.
Thank you.
Okay, so someone just sent in a question saying that since the places of worship can legally conduct marriages, how can, when we have divorce proceedings, why don't the church get involved in divorce proceedings? Why do they now have to go to court? That is kind of looking a bit complicated, getting married in church and going to court. Meanwhile, some other people get married in the registries, which people generally call the court marriages, and still go to court to dissolve the marriage. I don't know if you get the question clearly, but it's a bit of a quagmire.
Yeah, I get the question. It's a very simple and straightforward question. Now, if you look at the Marriage Act, right? The Minister of the Interior has the power to license the churches. And then you have the marriage registries that have been set up across the various federations. Don't forget that, this registry is one, even though they have branches all over the federation. Okay, so what had happened is that the churches have been licensed to conduct this marriage. Now, the Marriage Act and the related laws also provide that when you want to, the Matrimonial Causes Act, when you want to dissolve a marriage, you have to go to court. Now, really, the church marriage, if we must be honest with ourselves, is no different from the marriage you conduct in the registry. The only difference right now is that the priest in the church is blessing it. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
It's blessing it. It's being done in a place of worship. But as a matter of law, the marriage is the same marriage that you are conducting in the marriage registry. And that is why the minister licensed you in the first place, to be licensed the churches in the first place, to be able to conduct those marriages. And why can't you have a divorce in church? Well, first and foremost, the law does not allow you to have a divorce in church. The Matrimonial Causes Act says you must go to court. And I wouldn't encourage seeing the whole essence of a church, which is an institution that is meant to worship God, bless God, build Christians up in their faith. You know, the church as an institution is pro-marriage. It protects marriage. It wouldn't encourage, I don't feel the churches consciously being involved in dissolution of marriage themselves. And most times when people have issues and they go to their various pastors, their priests in church and all of that, what they tend to do is to find a way to engage the parties to resolve these issues. So yes, you will conduct the marriage in church, but if you want to dissolve it, you have to go to the court as provided by the Matrimonial Causes Act and the Marriage Act to dissolve the marriage. You will not be able to dissolve it in the court, because don't forget, the marriage you conduct in the court in the first instance is based on these same laws that allows the minister to give the churches a license to conduct the marriage. So, and that's why people have to go back to court to have the marriage dissolved. And if you were to ask my own personal view, I wouldn't even say that dissolution of marriage in church is something that the church will actively encourage. The church will not encourage that. The church is a place that preserves marriage, an institution that preserves marriage. It protects marriage. And I think the churches themselves will not want to be directly involved in dissolution of marriages.
Yes, that's very excellent, sir, because the church is actually a place of unity and oneness. And like you mentioned, the church is a place of blessing marriages and not breaking marriages up. And of course, the church does not encourage separation or dissolution of marriages. Okay, now the issue of celebration of marriages, it's a very excellent one in churches because you get blessings as well. You get blessed in the church. And thank you for adding the fact that the church is a place for uniting families and not for separating families. But do you have any final word of advice for people seeking to go to the marriage registries to conduct their marriages? Because sometimes people end up conducting marriages in the registry and go back to sign the same register in churches. Is that not the same marriage license that they are signing in two different places?
It is the same thing, and it shouldn't be that way. And that is why those licenses are given to the churches in the first place. When they are registered, when they are licensed, they have those licenses given to them. So I think it stems from a place of ignorance. People are ignorant. They tend to think that both are different. I think enlightenment and education to prospective couples when they are doing their marriage courses is very important, so that we can stop this idea of people having two marriage certificates that are in essence the same thing. You understand? It's just a waste of effort, a waste and a duplication of resources. And once you conduct your marriage in a church that is licensed to conduct marriages, then you don't need to go to a marriage registry to conduct the marriage. You only need to go to the marriage registry if you conducted your marriage in a church that is not licensed. So if that church is not licensed, then you can go to the marriage registry. But once the church is licensed, you don't have to go for a certificate at the marriage registry. Now, the converse is the case. If you conduct your marriage in the marriage registry ab initio, then you don't have to go to the church to get another certificate. You go to the church, bless it. The church will bless you, they will pray for you, and then that will be it. So I think that the prospective couples need to be educated while they are doing their marriage counseling process.
Okay, very, very interesting, because it keeps happening. So there you have it. You don't need to sign your marriage register in the court and sign it in the church as well. You have to choose one. You can get married in a place that is licensed, a church that is licensed to conduct marriage. Sign your register there, and it is valid in the eyes of the law. And it's been quite a very, very, very interesting discourse with the learned Silk, Godwin OMOAKA. But Godwin OMOAKA, before I let you go, we have the bar book segments, and I know it's been a while, but you just have to give us one Latin maxim before you go.
Wow, one Latin maxim I would think, ex nihilo fit nihil fit. That you can't, literal translation, ex nihilo fit nihil fit. It means that you can't put something on nothing, right? So you can't generate something from nothing, literally in Latin. So that would be my bar book segment for you today, Latin maxim.
Thank you so much. That was quite interesting. But I'll stick with in local celebrations, because we talked about marriages and the places of celebration of marriages. So in local celebration is a place of celebration where you celebrate your marriage or an event. You get to find out more Latin maxims in our bar book segment. Stay with us. Well, that's much we can take this week on the Courthouse. It was a very, very interesting episode with the learned Silk, Godwin OMOAKA, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, who talked about the issue of marriage licenses and the fees payable by churches and places of worship in Nigeria. He also gave us the legal basis for contesting that policy if need be. And we are encouraging you to celebrate more marriages and not dissolution. But we'd like you to keep your questions coming in, because we're having a very special episode to treat your questions only. We'd like you to use our hashtag, the Courthouse hashtag, LoveOplus, and you can also reach us on our website on www.loveoplus.tv. And before we give you our other handles, we must say a very big thank you to the learned Silk, who is still with us. Thank you so much for standing by. Thank you very, very much, sir.
Thank you, Itoha, for having me.
Thank you. We would like to see you again some other time. And like I said, you can reach us and send your questions. We have these senior advocates of Nigeria ready to answer your questions, senior legal experts ready to give answers to questions that you send in. So remember to use our hashtag, and also visit our website, and also download our app, LoveOplus, on any of the mobile app stores. I'm Olomu-Agbodo. Don't just get mad. Go get a lawyer. Bye for now.